Hey everyone, Pastor Brian here with our Monday follow-up. Wanted to touch base with you today to answer some questions, respond to some comments that were made during yesterday's sermon, during yesterday's message. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's awesome to see the different names pop up on who's watching and being able to go and see who's joining us and just the numbers of people. So thank you guys so much for tuning in on Sunday mornings. Continue to do that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for the comments. I had one question. It wasn't in the comments, but it was someone asked me later. Was James the brother of Jesus at the crucifixion? According to the four gospel accounts, James was not at the crucifixion. The only follower of Jesus who was there, according to any of the gospels, was John, and he records that himself, that he was there. The rest of the disciples had fled, and if we remember, James didn't believe that Jesus was the Son of God, and Jesus was arrested and tried essentially for treason, and so James would not have wanted to be associated with that. So James was not at the crucifixion. Some comments that were made. One was how awesome that God recognizes our own personal needs. Each of the disciples had different needs, and Jesus took care of all of them. That's one of my favorite parts about the message I gave on Sunday, is just the four different guys that we see, that they all needed Jesus in a very different way. Thomas needed him to be real, to be tangible. Peter needed forgiveness. James needed to believe. And Saul, later Paul, needed something drastic, something amazing. And that's exactly what Jesus did. The next comment, Jesus didn't push James or debate or try to convince. He let it play out patiently. I can't imagine. I feel the pressure sometimes for those who I know and who I love who don't believe in Jesus yet. I feel that pressure, and I want to continue to do things. I want to continue to preach and to reach out and to love and to do those sorts of things. But this one really struck me that I don't remember who made this comment, but that Jesus was patient, and it was the resurrection of Jesus. It was him defeating death. It was him being real and tangible again to James that truly led James to believing, and that has really convicted my heart. Me this week, it's been a day, in the last 24 hours essentially, that I need to be more patient and let God do what God does and I do what I do. The next comment was, Jesus always lets us come back. His grace is so wonderful. That to me, in the story of Peter, that's why I love the story of Peter, and I love especially the end of the story of Peter in John 21, where he's reconciled back, that no matter what we do, even to the point of denying even knowing Jesus, that was not too much for the grace of God. And it always reminds me of the story of the prodigal son, that there's nothing that the son could do that eliminated his sonship from the Father. And that's what we have in God, is that we have this forever mercy, this grace that is new every morning. It's sufficient. It's all encompassing, and I love that. So again, I don't remember who makes these comments, but whoever made that one, thank you so much. And then this next one, do you love someone who hates Christianity? Jesus can find them and can reach their heart. That's the whole point of what we believe. And I think some of us, me included, struggle for those that are far away from God, that are antagonistic against God. God's not afraid of that. When the God of the universe, the creator of all things, shows himself real to someone, it doesn't matter what they believe. He finds a way. And so for those of you who are praying for the people who are far off, who are far away, don't stop. Don't stop. And the last one, noted the person made a comment that there was a totally different approach with Saul than with James. I think that's a profound comment. And as a church leader, I think that's something that I'm noticing more and more, is that as we move into the 20s and continue on with technology the way it is, the approach for church, especially right now, the way we're doing church looks very different than what it did even a month ago. But church is going to continue to look different. It's going to continue to feel different. For a lot of us, that's not going to be very comfortable, me included in a lot of ways. But we see that Jesus' approach for all four of them, Thomas, Peter, Paul, and James, it was all different. Every single one of them had a different interaction with Jesus and a different way of them coming to know Jesus. And I think that speaks to what we as a church and what we as believers are to do, that we can't have one specific way that church works, one specific way that the gospel is administered to people. There's no one way to love every person exactly the same. It's all us being dependent on the Holy Spirit in the moment to make plans of what God has for us and what we need to do. And so thank you guys. Thank you so much for making those comments. I love getting a chance to reconnect with you on Mondays, to make comments back to the comments that were made, to answer any questions. And throughout the week, if you have questions, feel free to text me, contact the church office. I'd love to answer any questions you have. I'm not an expert by any means. I'll have to look up most of the answers to any question you might have, but I'd love to interact with you guys. I love each and every one of you. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week.